Hey everyone, Mike here today with some initial impressions here on Windows 11. So I'm recording this on September 1st. I installed Windows 11 earlier today. I ended up getting this build here, 22,168. I believe the ISO they put out publicly last week or the week before is actually a slightly older version. But yeah, after installing it, it automatically updated to this version. And so I think this is an important video to do for a couple of reasons, right? I know there's a lot of people out there complaining that, oh, Windows 10 or 11 doesn't support their hardware and, it's a reskin, so why this and that? And we'll kind of get into it as I go through some of the stuff here. First, I did a fresh install because this PC desperately needed one. I've had the same Windows 10 install since just before the actual release, so like this Windows 11 version. I'm installing a pre-release version. I've ran the same Windows 10 install since a pre-release like this, so it's lasted quite a while. It's had some rough patches, but as well overdue a proper ground up fresh install. So anyways, I brought up Windows 10 install screenshots specifically because, well, at least these dark purpley ones haven't changed. Right, you're still choosing your language. You're still either putting in a serial number or choosing which version you want to install. It doesn't really matter. And yeah, either upgrading or formatting and doing a custom install. After that, these blue screens where they ask you a bunch of questions, they've changed in the sense that you get to see the new UI, which kind of reminds me of an iPad sometimes. But fundamentally, you're still getting the same questions, right? Your location stuff, privacy, sharing, diagnostic data, all that crap. They're still asking the same questions. The difference is Cortana isn't giving you a speech there before you start doing any of it. It's a lot more like the older versions of Windows where, yeah, you could literally say, hey, I can sign into a Microsoft account or skip it. So on that subject, Windows 11 is like the later versions of Windows 10 where they make it very difficult to skip putting in a Microsoft account. Pro tip, I tested it for 11 and it still works. Unplug your network. If you unplug your network and you do your install and you get to where this screen would normally show up, it's instead going to ask you to connect to the network. And if you say, I don't have internet, it'll let you do a local account on the PC instead. So personally, I use my Microsoft account because I have Game Pass, but I know some folks out there are not crazy about it. In which case, well, why are you using Windows to begin with if you're not crazy about that? So anyways, that's the install. Windows itself, once you hop on into the new OS, it's pleasant. The first thing I noticed is that it looks a little bit better on the eyes, and they've redone the sounds as well, so it's less obnoxious, it's less intrusive. I'll give you a sample here. Let's do the volume. Oh no, it's not doing it. Let's try it again. Now it's working. And if I click on the desktop and just hit a random key, instead of the annoying sound it used to do, you get this. So a lot of the different notification sounds have, even the startup shutdown, or I don't know if there's a shutdown. There is definitely startup sound sequence it does. They've all been much more pleasant. So that's been nice. A lot of the typical settings I do, so this is a new screen, right? Instead of having all the tiles along the middle and then clicking on a tile and then having settings on the side and then having more settings in the middle, they've put all the major categories on the left and reorganized all the settings. So, system display. I can hop here and change my settings like I wanted. I'll point out that scaling is still a problem. especially if you drag windows from one scale to another. Yes, some of that is application side, but some of that is also Microsoft should have potentially done something to help developers out. I don't know. It's annoying that it's a problem because we're talking, it's been a problem for over 5 years. So it's not just a Windows 10 issue. But so it's nice to see that they haven't done much for that. They apparently did, but I'm not seeing it. They've apparently done stuff for HDR as well. I can't test it, so I can't tell. If it's anything like scaling, it's probably less less awful, but still bad. So I guess that's better than completely useless. Interesting other issue. When I was trying to set up audio for here, I need to boost this microphone up to 30%. And I'm sure you could see the problem. I cannot do that anywhere. So good old control panel still exists, thankfully. And yeah, I can go here, go in the microphone, hit properties, and then do the 30% boost that I require. I don't know why there's no link to that. If I do mouse settings, oh, Bluetooth and devices. There's additional settings here. So this is another setting I have to change every time I use a new PC. Take off mouse acceleration, also known as enhanced pointer precision. So that's thankfully still available. But, again, they spent a decent amount of time and effort revamping some of the interface here. And yeah, they've added most of the options now under various tabs. But on the other hand, there's less functionality than there was before. because they've taken away some options. And yet they've not managed to actually fit all the old control panel stuff here either. So, it is what it is. I noticed there's some new power for potentially people in laptops. I don't have anything here. I've technically not ran on battery power because this is a UPS. So maybe that's why it doesn't have any stats. I don't know. Probably. So it'll be interesting to actually see this on a laptop, see if it's any useful or not. But yeah, let's keep going down the list here. Personalization. There's new backgrounds. Who cares? Colors. I like dark mode, so that's still the same. The transparency effects seem a little bit more obvious. So you can see here, there's the background. You can see it at the bottom, especially. So if I click somewhere else, you can see that the window changes, but the bar at the bottom doesn't. So yeah, accent colors, borders. So if I open one of these up, yeah, I don't I don't like having that border. That's a little annoying. Beyond that, here's a controversial one. No, not really controversial, but so the start menu by default is center. So you can left align the taskbar, which is what I've done. However, there's a couple of issues here. The start menu itself is kind of useless, like Windows 8 was in some ways. So you're supposed to have your recent apps, recently added apps, most recently used apps, I guess, and recent items. They kind of want you to enable those so they can have them down here in the start menu. I have no interest in enabling those things because I don't care. I don't use them. I would prefer to have more room to pin stuff, but no. You're not allowed that. In fact, you can't resize it, so you're stuck with 3 rows of pin stuff. And also, you're only pinning apps now. You don't have the widgets like you used to. There's actually a dedicated widget button, which I've disabled because I have zero interest in using it. At least with the live tiles, I had a couple because they're kind of useful, but I'm not going to open a dedicated widget button to look at that stuff, especially since it has to sit there and load a bunch of news headlines, which I really don't care about. And I didn't see any way to disable it, and so let's just take out the button altogether. And of course, if you want to open all your applications, they're there. So yeah, in terms of usability, this is definitely a step backwards. But thankfully, at least for me, in terms of usability, the start menu is useless anyways. Right? I just hit the start button and I do snip if I want the snipping tool, for instance. Or maybe I want to start Steam. I'll do that. I'll have to look into disabling web results as well. There's usually a way to do that through the registry, so the search never goes up and searches the web. Again, it's just stuff I don't care about, because if I want to search the web, I've got a web browser to search the web. I don't need Windows to search for web stuff because, yeah, why the hell would you need that? I get it. For some people, it's a nice feature, but it'd be nice if it was an option I can actually disable in the UI. Beyond that, oh, okay, I didn't notice that these folder. Oh, they're along the bottom. Huh. Well, okay. That's not too bad, actually. Documents and music. That's about what I need to access. Actually, the personal folder isn't too bad either. Cool. Taskbar itself. Yeah, I talked about the widgets. The tasks view, well, you can do the Windows key plus, sorry, if you do the Windows key plus tab, that's instead of Alt tab, that's the tasks view, so I don't need a button for that. I don't need a dedicated chat thing. In terms of icon overflow, there's not an option to just say disable this feature outright. So you're always, every time you install something, it'll automatically be in the overflow. So you can see what I recently installed because it's all disabled. I normally enable everything, have all the icons. Once I'm done setting up a new PC, then I'll start disabling stuff. But yeah, I didn't bother going back in here because I've got less stuff to set up than I normally have had to do in the past. I found myself using less and less garbage on PCs, which is nice. Beyond that, yeah, I only want the window icons on Windows I want. Again, not a new option. The show the desktop button down here, that can be disabled, which I had disabled, and I don't know why it's re-enabled. And I believe there's one more thing. I don't remember where it is now, but there's an option for the wiggle. Like if you grab the window and wiggled it and it minimized everything, that's now an interface option. However, it is disabled by default. I remember seeing it somewhere. I don't know where. But yeah, so the start menu is kind of less useful than before. But then, like I said, because of Windows 8, I've completely stopped using the start menu. So I don't really care too much about that. What is a bit annoying is I like the idea of this, little control panel thing, and I could put stuff in here or take some out. So that's kind of cool. I wish I could control what icons showed up because funny enough, these are all icons I normally disable and hide. Similarly, I normally disabled, yes, I know NVIDIA is using this. I normally had this disabled, the microphone, the camera icon, the localization, or not localization, but the when an application is getting your location. Like you used to be able to disable those icons, and I'm not seeing an option to do that anymore. So I'm stuck with that icon permanently there, which is kind of dumb. But yeah, normally it was a privacy thing, but have looked at like, yeah, great comm surrogate. Good thing I know exactly what that is, right? And there's a lot. There's still some dumb stuff like that. Go figure. It's still Windows. They've not reinvented the wheel with this. Like I said, they've pretty much just slapped a new UI on the same old problems they've had before. So it's nice. It's better. It's not a significant upgrade either. But potentially by forcing a certain minimum hardware spec, they can now start phasing out certain things a little bit more aggressively and moving forward a bit quicker, kind of like the Apple model in some ways, where Apple can bring in some pretty significant sweeping changes they wanted. And in terms of compatibility, they have such a small set of hardware to be compatible with. It makes their job really easy, whereas Microsoft has a bunch of legacy cruft. Yeah, I suppose the other neat thing is, I'm used to hitting the Windows key and doing snapping like this, or I've seen people do it this way, right? You go in the corner, or you go on the side, or whatever. You can also mouse over now and you get more layouts. So if you like this kind of stuff and you actually want to customize more, just look at Power Toys. They brought back Power Toys for Windows 10, and like stuff like this, you can snap. You can create your own zones to snap to among a list of other features. So it's nice to see that they have something more built in now, but you can also get that functionality in Windows 10 very easily by a tool that's developed by some Microsoft people on top of that. So yeah, other than minor UI bugs here and there, there's occasionally some of them. It's not a big problem. It's been mostly good and stable, right? The store works. Oh, I tried to start the clock app earlier to do a stopwatch, and then I closed it because I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to wait till this is doing its thing. Um, and yeah, the Xbox app worked first time this time, which was not the case before. So I have all my Game Pass games, which I'm going to slowly start downloading. So that's been enjoyable. And yeah, that's Windows 11, I suppose, in a nutshell. If you have a PC that's compatible, great. You'll be able to do the upgrade later on. If you have an old rig that's not compatible, well, you're not missing out on much. So don't be too upset. Having said that, this is still an insider build. There's still some changes to be expected because it is still coming out in about a month. And from what I've seen in some of the older insider build notes or releases, some of them have had quite a few changes done to them. So, I expect a lot more to change between now and release, but at the same time, it's not a huge advancement or anything like that. However, having said that, the one nice thing is I've finally got a fresh Windows install that's nice and responsive and not full of crap. So if there's one big positive, that would be it. But in all seriousness, I actually do like the new sounds as well. I've always found notification sounds and just notifications in general in Windows to be really annoying. I'll use an FTP client, for instance. I transfer files, and then it's that doo sound constantly. I start transferring a file, then I go transfer another file, and that one finishes. So poof, you get the notification, you get the sound. At least now when you get notification sounds, they're much more calming, much less annoying and obnoxious. And that doesn't say Windows 10 was, really bad for the sounds. I mean, Windows 7 is freaking awful if you go back to that. But yeah, they're getting better at it. At least 10 is pleasant now to listen to. So, with that said, I'll end it here. I've probably gone on far too long for this video. I will point out two last usability things that are actually kind of annoying. Right click the start, or the taskbar, I only get taskbar settings. When you right click the desktop, there's sure more options, which brings back the classic stuff. Like, oh no, we have 2 layers of garbage now. My God, why did you guys do that? They also call it Windows Terminal now, which is PowerShell, thankfully. I was a little bit afraid when I first saw that. I was like, oh no, have they gone back to old crap? Hey, let's use the GeForce Experience in game. I don't know why that popped up. And yeah, actually, if I go to this video, oh right, I recorded a test one. But yeah, same deal here, right? Show more options. Then I could do the media info stuff. So like the start menu, they've introduced more clicks to their UI in some areas. That's kind of weird. I don't know why. Design it better. Who knows? Either way, we'll see how it is at launch. But at least for now, this is Windows 11 Insider. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next video.